The rain beat against the windows like 1,000 restless hands, clawing at the darkened city as if begging to be let in. New York lay drenched beneath December's heavy storm, its streets glistening under murky streetlights, its towering buildings swallowed by clouds. And inside one of those towers, Grayson Holdings, a monument of glass and steel piercing the night, something was about to shift in a man who long believed he'd forgotten how to feel. On the top floors, where most lights had already dimmed, one still burned. Thomas Grayson, the elusive CEO who shaped markets with a signature and frightened entire divisions with a single raised brow, sat hunched over a sleek black desk. His office was immaculate, its polished surfaces reflecting the glow of city lights far below. Papers lay neatly stacked, reports lined up with precision. Yet nothing on his screen registered in his mind. He stared blankly at the half-written email on his laptop. A merger decision that could shift billions. A move analysts would call genius. But tonight, the cursor blinked like an accusation. His hands wouldn't move. The clock hit 11 with a soft metallic click. He sighed, pushed back his chair, and reached for his coat. The silence in his office was suffocating, too familiar, an echo of years spent burying himself in work, in success, in anything that kept him from remembering the hollow ache left by a woman who once scrubbed classrooms so her son could dare to dream. The elevator hummed softly as it descended. Thomas leaned against the mirrored wall, eyes closed, breathing slowly. When the doors opened to the lobby, he stepped out and froze. A small figure sat curled up on the far bench near the revolving doors. A little girl, no more than 5, hugging a faded backpack to her chest. Her blonde hair clung to her wet cheeks, her thin coat soaked through, her small legs swinging above the marble floor. She didn't cry. She didn't fidget. She just waited, her eyes scanning every elevator ding with quiet hope. When her gaze lifted to meet his, bright blue, too big for her tiny face, something inside Thomas cracked. He walked toward her slowly. "What are you doing here, little one?" His voice felt rusty, as if unused for hours. She looked up, her voice barely louder than the patter of rain against the glass. "I'm waiting for my mommy. She's working upstairs." His brows pulled together. "Upstairs? At this hour? Everyone's gone. She cleans the building at night," the girl whispered. "My mom is sick, but she said we need money for her medicine so she can't tell anyone. She said she'll be okay. But sometimes she shakes. And sometimes she holds her tummy like it hurts real bad." The air left his lungs. He saw another woman suddenly, kneeling on classroom floors, wiping away chalk dust, her hands cracked and bleeding from harsh chemicals. His mother smiling through pain she never spoke of. His mother working herself into the ground. His mother dying alone on a cold tile floor while he was too far away to say goodbye. He blinked hard. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. "Amy," she said. "Amy Carter." "And your mommy?" "Emma." He nodded, forcing his throat to loosen. "Would you like to wait somewhere warmer, Amy?" She shook her head. "I want to see her when she comes down. I don't want her to walk alone in the rain." He turned his face away for a moment, swallowing the ache rising inside him. He knew he should leave. He knew he could walk out those doors and return to his silent penthouse, untouched by anyone else's pain. Not with a child, but he couldn't, alone in a storm, not tonight, a mother who was breaking herself piece by piece. Without a word, he sat beside her. He didn't speak. Didn't reassure. Just remained, present, steady, a silent promise he didn't yet understand. That night, when he reached home, sleep avoided him like a stranger. He sat at the edge of his bed, the city a blur of lights behind him, and typed one name into the employee database, Emma Carter. Her file appeared. Former medical student. 3rd year. Dropped out. No emergency contact. Night staff for 7 months. Diligent. Silent. Barely noticed. He read every line until his vision blurred. Then he made a choice. The next morning, he was in the surveillance room before dawn, watching footage from nights past, Emma gripping walls, shaking, working through pain she should have been resting from. Cleaning on her knees when equipment broke. Smiling when someone passed, suffering when no one looked. He remembered that smile. His mother had worn the same one. By noon, policies changed. Orders were given. Floors reassigned. Benefits quietly added. Her pay lifted. No files marked with charity, only performance re-evaluation. He didn't need credit. He needed her to survive. But when Emma discovered the changes weeks later, she went straight to the top floor, wearing her faded uniform and tired eyes. She stepped into his office with a stillness that commanded more respect than any executive he'd ever met. "I came to thank you," she said softly. "But I need you to stop." He rose slowly. "Emma. I can't accept help I didn't earn," she said. "I don't want my daughter thinking her mother survived because someone took pity on her." "You weren't pitied," he said quietly. "You were seen." Her breath trembled, but her resolve didn't break. "I need to do this myself." He didn't argue. He simply nodded. And she walked away. He watched her go with a respect he rarely felt for anyone in his polished world. But fate wasn't done with them. A month later she collapsed alone on the 15th floor, body shaking, lips pale, breath shallow. And Amy, wandering the hallways in search of her mother, broke the building's silence with the softest plea. "Mister, please help. My mommy didn't come back." Security called Thomas immediately. He ran. No coat. No shoes. No hesitation. He found Amy crying in the lobby, and he knelt there with her until the hospital swallowed Emma behind ICU doors. And then, he stayed. He stayed when Amy fell asleep against him. He stayed when the doctor delivered the grim truth: lupus, advanced, untreated too long. He stayed through the night, staring at the ICU door as if daring it to open. He stayed long enough to finally whisper a vow to the universe. "This time, I won't be too late." 2 weeks later, when Emma finally opened her eyes in a quiet recovery room, he was the first to stand beside her, not as her boss, not as her savior, but as the one man who understood the cost of a mother's sacrifice more than anyone else. She cried, just once. He looked away to give her dignity. When she left the hospital, he drove her home. No chauffeur. No spectacle. Just a man who had vowed not to fail another mother. Emma returned to work a week later, but to a new role in HR, light, stable, respectful. Not because she was weak, but because she deserved better. And Thomas visited more often than he should have, bringing files for her input, lingering at her desk, asking questions that meant more than they sounded. She answered with quiet strength. They became something like friends. Something like confidants. Something like two souls who recognized pain in each other and decided to stop pretending they were unbreakable. One rainy evening, they walked side by side under two umbrellas, mist glowing like gold around streetlights. "If you ever want to study again," Thomas said, voice low, "I'll help. Not as a favor. Not because you owe me. Because you deserve to finish what life interrupted." Emma's fingers tightened on her umbrella. She didn't refuse this time. Maybe she didn't want to. Maybe she was ready to let someone share the weight she'd carried alone for far too long. And on a quiet December night, with snow drifting from a soft gray sky, the future seemed to open for them, slowly, gently, beautifully. A future Amy would grow up remembering not as a miracle, but as the night her mother finally stopped fighting alone, because someone who understood the cost of love better than anyone else decided he wasn't going to let her fall again. And somewhere high in the city, behind glass reflecting the snowy dusk, a once lonely CEO realized he had saved more than one life. He had found his own again. And their story was only just beginning. If you want, you can send the next story whenever you're ready.